Oh, my name is Monica Cooper. I live in Phoenix, Arizona. I am a person with a disability and I belong to different self-advocacy groups such as People First of Arizona, Oasis, ASDAC, and the Developmental Disabilities Planning Council in Arizona.
Tell me about growing up as a person with a disability. Where did you grow up?
I was born in Evanston, Illinois. I spent some years, like 2 or 3 years in Israel. I've also lived in Michigan. I've lived in West Virginia and here in Arizona.
And what year did you grow? Where were you born?
1968.
So growing up since 1968, you have this perspective of growing up prior to the Americans with Disabilities Act. What was it like growing up as a person with a disability?
Well, people saw me as different, although my parents always tried to include me in everything, and I was mainstreamed, I should say, in school. The only special ed in school that I needed was transportation. I was always put in a regular classroom. There was one time when I lived in Israel that they tried to put me in special ed, and from what my mom was telling me, they didn't think I could learn. And I know my mom advocated for me, and I think she said that she felt that I could be put in a regular classroom. And in school, the only special ed I needed was transportation. Now, being a person with a disability, a visual disability, I had to sit in the front of the room, and they sometimes they had to hand me paper. They would copy the notes for me so I could have them. And I was always mainstreamed. I took all the classes everybody else took. I had, when I was in high school, was my first experience using large print books. And I mean, like, for example, a science book, for a regular science book that was one book, mine was like 3 or 4.
Did the large print help?
Yes, it did.
Make things a lot easier?
It did. And when it came to test taking in high school, when I had to take the SAT, I was put in a room so I could have more time and less distraction. And that helped a lot. And I enjoyed school, and I liked math, I liked reading, and in high school I liked home ec, and I got to be in drama. In the last year of high school, I was in the drama club, and I was in one play. I don't remember what the name of the play was, but I enjoyed being a part of a play.
Did you feel any discrimination growing up?
Not growing up. Not so much growing up, although, like I said at the beginning, people sometimes would see me as different. Or another thing, although it didn't happen with me as much, maybe as a kid, they always would say something, well, aren't you contagious?
Contagious?
And, like, because I had a disability, I was different. They saw it as being sick.
How did that make you feel?
I didn't like that at all.
That doesn't sound right.
No.
And they wanted to put you in special ed classes because you were disabled?
Yes.
Or you had a disability?
Yes.
Did you need special ed classes?
No.
Wow. So what's it like now? Is it different?
It is different. It is different. People are a lot better at accommodating. Like I'll see automatic doors and buttons that will help open the doors. I see like in jobs and that sort of thing. I see people accommodating a lot better. And people, like when I go to the store or something, I don't feel uncomfortable going to the store or any place. The only thing I think needs to improve the only thing I feel that needs to be improved is attitude. Like sometimes during transportation, I take different types of transportation, and sometimes they forget to ask you, can I help you? Whereas, I was always taught disability etiquette, you ask the person, can I help you? You just don't assume that they need help. And then also attitudes need to change. For example, transportation, the driver will say, I have to pick up a wheelchair. And I'm thinking to myself, what about the person in that wheelchair?
What does that mean?
That means there is something called people first language, which you see the person first, not the disability. Like for example, I see you as George, not a wheelchair. I see you as George. I see a friend of mine, Jolene or Katie, as people who enjoy acting. I see, I see all of these self-advocates as people who want to speak up for themselves.
When did you start speaking up for yourself?
Well, the first time that I can remember was I lived in Israel for about 2.5, 3 years as a kid. And I belong to the Baha'i faith, and some of their places of worship you have to take your shoes off. And someone would come up to me and say, "Oh, you don't have to take your shoes off." I said, well, this is a reverent place. This is a place of worship. And if everybody's supposed to take their shoes off, I'm going to take my shoes off. Even if it means unlacing 20 laces on each side of a pair of one shoe. Because I wanted to be included in the church.
Is that important to you?
Yes, it is. Inclusion is very important to me because I don't want to feel left out.
That's good. So tell me about you. What do you like to do for fun?
Well, I like to cook. I like to do arts and crafts, mainly crocheting, especially blankets. And I do fun stuff. I do puzzles. I go places. I've gone to movies. It's been a while since I've gone to a movie, but I have been. I play games every week with a group of ladies. And I visit friends at their homes.
Nice. So if you could tell one thing to a self-advocate, what would you tell them?
Don't be afraid to speak up. It will help you make your life better. So if you want to be able to live independently, tell somebody, I want to learn how to be independent, how to live independent. If you want to get a job, tell somebody, I want to get a job and what that job might be.
Thank you so much, Monica.